We have been monitoring your transmissions. We have learned of your Earth films. We've grown quite fond of them. We've also learned of your Earth podcasts. Many are questionable, but we have found one called Cinema Forecast, where every one of your Earth months, they are assigned by the legally distinct movie roulette a category. Attached to said category are 4 Earth films. Each of your Earth weeks, they go in depth in one of the films, speaking of it in the context of the category. Thank you so much, Klaatu, for that introduction. I am Alfredo. Welcome to Cinema Forecast. Klaatu told you up at the top. Here with me, as always.
It's Connor.
And welcome to the first week of Aliens.
Aliens!
A mono word, single word category.
Yeah, we came up with a couple other ones, but Aliens just felt right. I love Aliens, Alfredo. How do you feel about Aliens?
My parents were resident aliens for a very long time. They became citizens this year? Yeah, this year. No, last year. And so yeah, I'm a big fan. Resident aliens, outer space aliens. I definitely feel like I'm not at the level some other people are.
Yeah.
Like when we were on tour, we went through New Mexico, and there's a lot of like cool like alien shit to see. And so we stopped at this place where there was a bunch of alien merchandise, and Ben and Jacob were so like stoked, and they were like, sick, this is so dope. And I turned to Morgan, I'm like, and they are also both like they're like vehemently like they exist and they are here on Earth amongst us. I even I know people who've told me that they believe that they've been like abducted and stuff. I am a little skeptical.
I'm very skeptical of all that.
I don't necessarily think that they're here amongst us. I do think there's that one equation that you can see like mathematically kind of shown.
The
that,
Fermi paradox?
Yeah, there are two different like sort of like given either set of parameters, there's going to be some like sort of life out there in the universe, and potentially even intelligent life. I don't know if I think they've arrived here, you know?
Yeah, I just feel like there would be some stronger evidence at this point, given how much technology we have.
Didn't the government come out and say aliens exist or some shit, or UFOs or?
Well, they've released multiple classified videos, right? And I've watched all that stuff because I love it, even if I'm very skeptical that it's aliens. And maybe they are visiting, over the years. I don't think they're like walking around on the planet though, but
And if they're going to, they should at least wear like a visitor's tag or something,
Well, Klaatu didn't feel the need.
Klaatu announced himself, And Klaatu, today we're talking about the day the Earth stood still. As Connor mentioned last week, this is the first category we've arranged chronologically.
That's right.
Chronologically. And I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I think it's cool to like sort of see representation in media sort of evolving over the years.
Right. And I think especially for sci-fi, I think sci-fi is so known for its kind of commentary on society and the state of civilization and the things society's struggling with. And I think this movie is a perfect example of that. And I think we'll be seeing bits of that in all the movies we're going to be watching.
I was joking a little bit about the Resident Alien thing, but this is so much about the other, right? Like, and it is about like how we treat people we don't understand. It often feels like this great sort of like metaphor for xenophobia, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely felt like watching it. I was like, this shit feels very important even today. I mean, like on the brink of war with Iran, we've got deportations, that are happening right now. All of this stuff feels like so relevant, right? In like the movie, I'm watching the movie and I feel like it's making commentary on things that are happening now, right?
Yeah, I was kind of like having that depressing realization throughout the whole movie of just like, Damn, it's sad how much all of this still applies to today, 74 years later. Um, However, I think they'd be happy that we haven't nuked each other yet, right? That seems like, given the time, everyone's like, okay, 6 years ago we dropped these bombs. We've been having these wars back to back. What are the chances 74 years from now that we haven't nuked each other by now? So hey, good on humanity for that one at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, respect. I mean, call them like you see them. And I mean, credit where credit is due. Do you want to go over some themes?
Yeah. So I was.
Wait, can we address the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
New notebook.
Oh yeah. Temporary notebook. I finished my first notebook that I started Cinema Forecast with.
Available for purchase for $1 million on our web store.
That's right.
Signed.
Signed a lot. You can see all my horrible misspellings of everyone's names. But yeah, no, start a new notebook. But it's not even new. It was one I had already been using for a bunch of stuff, so it feels more like a temp notebook.
Right, but that's good. I mean, hey, we were talking about the day the Earth stood still. Like we got to take care of the Earth, man.
That's true. I'm not gonna waste any of this paper. Anywho, the themes.
He made a really cute face when he said that. You guys didn't see it.
The themes of Alien Month. Well, so I kind of think I'll probably end up adding to this, but this is what I have so far. Only 4. Fear of the unknown, right? That seems like the most obvious one. The hubris of man, the wonder of the universe, and mankind as a collective, which is a very vague theme, but I feel like that is a lot of what Aliens looks at, whether it's on the macro societal level or in the more micro interpersonal level. How do people respond to aliens? What is humanity reduced to when their hubris is challenged, or when they realize they are an inferior species, or maybe just encountering a horrifying species like we saw in 2 of the movies last month, and The Thing and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. How does society crumble around aspects like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Those sound like some great themes. While I was watching it, I was thinking about the acting as well is so important, especially if you're doing one of these where it's like an alien is very humanoid.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Rennie does a really good job of he is just far away enough, right? There's this almost uncanny valley of the way he socializes a little bit, but there's enough. I don't know. I felt like it was a compelling performance because it is the shit Bobby says to him, right? Where he's like, "You're a real screwball, Mr. Carpenter." That shit was fucking funny. Because he's he's like a baby, right? As far as his exposure to the Earth.
Totally. That's a really good call. Yeah. It's funny because I wasn't thinking about this. One of the themes being the wonder of the universe, and the wonder we see in this movie is more around Klaatu's wonder of mankind than humanity's wonder of him. Humanity is just looking at him as something horrible, a menace to be defeated. Besides Bobby, good old Bobby.
Yeah. It was good shit, I would say. Good shit. I'm glad I finally watched this movie.
Yeah. Oh, well, so first experience for you. I've seen it when I was a kid. However, I really didn't remember a lot of it. I think it was probably a bit too mature and adult for me when I saw it. I don't even remember the second half of the movie. I think I was for some reason I thought this movie ended with a battle with the aliens, and I was like, okay, well that's not this movie at all. I don't know which
War
one.
Of the World.
I don't know. I saw another movie that was in Washington, D.C., where it was black and white 50s movie, and they're battling flying saucers. But, maybe that's just where my head wandered to while I was watching this movie as a kid.
Yeah. I like how you said that you were glad that we got this one for the month of July.
Yeah.
But, I mean, spoiler alert, we're not doing Independence Day.
Yeah, no, I did have that thought that I was like, oh, this is right after July 4th. Maybe we should have just done Independence Day, but hey, chronological order, we're doing a thing.
We're doing a thing as well. And if we were going to do something for 4th of July, we would have to do something for 28 de Julio or the 28th of July, the Independence Day of the country of my parents' origin, Peru. And I don't know if they've got a 28 de Julio alien movie that we could do.
Maybe.
That would be fucking dope, dude. Be dope. Definitely a blind spot for me. Peruvian cinema. We'll explore it for a month one of these days.
Hell yeah.
So, directed by Robert Weiss.
Yeah.
1951 is the year. Screenplay by Edmund H. North, based on a story by Harry Bates. We got the music by Bernard Herrmann.
Yeah.
And this is like a very dope, like sort of that prototypical, like orchestral with like theremin.
Theremin, yes, so much theremin. This is like the classic sci-fi
It's so good.
50s sound pulp sci-fi.
I loved it. I really
I like the soundtrack
and
a
like
lot
the
too.
stings and the way that it swells really
Yeah.
good. And then we got behind the sticks, director of photography Leo Tolver. As I mentioned, Michael Rennie's playing Klaatu. Let's fucking get into it.
The
Hey cinephiles, let's get into it.
the speaking of the cinematography, the black and white, like the way darkness is used throughout the movie is so good.
Oh.
And I think that's just something, like if you're gonna do something in black and white, yeah, you have to do something with that contrast. And
So yeah, back in the day, that's all they had. They just
Yeah.
had two colors. They had black and white. I think, is this our first black and white film that we are watching?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It looked awesome. It looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open on spooky theremin.
Yes.
Did we get this cool kind of like space image parallax thing? I think it's a parallax where you got like images of space in the background, and then they have like a fog rolling over it, and there might have been some other. It felt like there was some movie magic stuff going into making that screen, that the title sequence, with the credits going over, and I thought it was interesting looking.
Yeah. I like the opening credit crawl. It's so wild how much longer credits are these days. You know?
Yeah.
Like that was just like boom, boom, boom. All of the credits were done in like 2 minutes.
Right.
Not even.
Right. Well, and it's also just always interesting to see that older theme of like we're gonna do all the credits up front here, and like you kind of like it's almost like
When the movie ends, it just like ends too.
Yeah.
I kind of love that shit.
it's interesting that it's kind of like a time to like soak it in, the start of a movie, right? It's like, okay, we're gonna set up the tone. Here's some spooky theremin, images of space. Just like we're gonna get you in the mood for what we're about to throw at you. It's almost like cleaning your palate before the movie starts.
Oh, Connor loves a palate cleanser.
I do.
He's sitting on a little thing, a little ramekin of pickled ginger over there. between his takes, he's just like. And how does this movie begin? With a montage of sorts.
Yeah, and a lot of that throughout this movie. We start with the like air defense all over the world, basically, or at least it's just the U.S. and Britain, I think, basically being alerted of something in our atmosphere moving extremely fast.
4,000 miles per hour.
Yeah, and then it kind of cuts to different people in the world, just like reacting to it, and which is very cool to see, just from like a historical perspective. Like 74 years ago, let's get these shots from all around the world.
Yeah, and there's all like the radio, like all of the different radio announcers. You know, that's such like a classic shot for like not shot, sorry. It's such a classic sequence for these kinds of like things where it's like, oh my god, there's something that like is completely changing the entire world, and the news around the world is all talking about it, and like, you know, just like dun, dun, like Tokyo, like, you know, Moscow, and then we got like fucking like Shanghai, we got friggin' Mogadishu. I'm just gonna name cities that aren't in Europe or or in North America. But you know, like, and then like, you know, New York, Washington D.C., fucking like all of those, like France, and like the lady looking like up at the sky and saying something in French, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what you said, but I feel it. You know, it's very like I like the sort of like hype, but like not really hype. It's more like hysteria.
Yeah.
Like you feel it starting to mount, because that is like such a big part of this movie. Is the way people react to it is so like everyone is like they're going to fucking attack us. They're here, because then it cuts to this guy saying like reports that of like an invading army are
Right.
like those are like false. You know.
Yeah, the newscaster, right?
Yeah, I think that's later on, but and we get that it's going to the east coast of the USA as well. That's where it's heading for.
Right. And we cut to DC, where it's just like a bunch of people like hanging out at the park and stuff, like a big like quadruple baseball field they're hanging out
Yeah.
on. and then they all start fleeing as they see the ship come rolling through. And I gotta say, I mean, it looks like an old movie, but like most of these special effects are pretty awesome.
The effects look great. They're
Yeah.
they're totally serviceable and often like go above what I thought I was gonna be seeing. I just also want to say the radio guy in Washington D.C., the last radio guy we see, HV Cantleborn. I think that's a fucking wild name. But I love how he's just like, yeah, people are like, oh wow, what's gonna happen? It's just business as usual here in DC. I really love that the like last message is this sort of like, all right, let's try to like fucking like, control this wave of hysteria. But
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of public manipulation going on in general. But yeah, hysteria, I'd say, is the name of the game, where uh, it really is highlighting just how irrational and animalistic people get when they're scared. That's kind of like the major theme of the movie, I think.
yeah, for sure, absolutely. I also think I think there's some like more positive like human themes that
Yeah.
are like not super highlighted but are there, because like you
Yeah.
said, it is mostly about like the like people freaking out. But I feel like Bobby, as we've said, he's kind of represents like a softer side of humanity.
Yeah, Bobby, Mrs. Benson, Abraham Lincoln.
That's good. That's good. I I was definitely like, ooh, it's landing on a baseball field. America's pastime. And back in 1951 it still was, I also want to say this is very funny for reasons that nobody will know for a while, but I predicted that the Thunder were going to win the playoffs, and they didn't. They're going to Game 7. Game 7 is tonight. You know what? Fuck it. The Pacers are going to win. I changed my mind. All right, back on topic. It like landing on the baseball field, America's pastime. It felt like I was like, there's some symbolism here, it's almost like all play is put on pause. It's like I don't know. I was almost like,
it's like the earth stood still for
Yeah.
a moment.
yeah. I also felt like, is this kind of like a symbol for how they feel, where it's like you are like landing upon like what we hold sacred, the baseball diamond, show it the respect it deserves. That's why they got pissed off. I don't know. I didn't ever form a complete like, I didn't have a great take on it. I was just like, there's something to him landing on a baseball field.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was thinking more along the lines of like, I bet this was just like a super famous location in Washington D.C. that they thought would be iconic to like, to
It's like
land the
near
ship
the
in.
mall, right? Like the near the Washington Monument and
Yeah,
stuff.
so it seems like a pretty prime in the center of Washington D.C. I don't know what that is now, but that's kind of how I took it. I love that take on it though.
Thanks, buddy.
We see the military getting mobilized. There's a lot of that in here, a lot of war imagery. I mean, this is people, like a whole society that's fresh off the most like devastating war ever. So there's a lot of that kind of cynical like overtone on things, which is really interesting because this is also like, the big boom in the US, and people are kind of like, the US is extremely wealthy after World War II. And so this is a time of great wealth and prosperity. And it's like this movie is kind of, but there's also all the paranoia with everything going on with Russia, the Red Scare. I don't know officially when McCarthyism was like full at play here. But yeah, no, it's just interesting to look at this movie through a kind of historical cultural lens, in the little ways I do know about that period.
Yeah, it's also like, I feel like they never like, there's never even like a mention of like communism or anybody being like a communist.
That's a good point, yeah.
But there is like the moment where later on the lady in the boarding house, she's like, I don't think they're from another planet. And like,
Oh, yes.
they don't even say Russia or the
Yeah.
USSR. I kind of love how that really even highlights more how like they're like Voldemort to them.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Stood out to me. Yeah, there's a lot of really subtle kind of just like nudges and nods and little little play with the audience throughout the movie. I think.
For sure. After all the military mobilizing, we get this sort of like line. It felt like a line of command, like get me the chief of staff, and then like I'd like to speak to the president, like sort of like everything being sent up the ladder, right?
Yep.
Reports, and then we get this sort of like the news report about the UFO. It looks fucking sick. This is the part where the guy says the thing about there's rumors spreading about invading armies that are false.
I like that he has the little TV next to him, and at first you're just seeing his profile with him on the TV,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to showing in front of him.
I think this is also the one where he gets like slid like a new piece of paper at one point, right? Like,
Yeah.
love that.
It's like from the White House, basically. Like, I've been given permission to tell you that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Basically.
3:47 is the time that it lands to. I gotta say again, like you were saying, I think the UFO looks fucking awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I think it feels like it knows its limitations, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it has the hindsight that we do to be like, don't overcomplicate the look of the spaceship. Go for something simple, something kind of almost incomprehensible, because like that works so much better than something that, I don't know, try to like over design and then will kind of not work visually, right? Like, don't think so much about like, oh, we got to put a little window for the guy to be able to see out in space. So when
Yeah.
he's driving, like, no, fuck that. Like,
No.
make it kind of like unfathomable.
Yeah. No, yeah, cool design. I was always extremely struck by how well it looked when it was opening. I thought that looked seamless as hell.
That's
the,
amazing.
the door opening
that
and
looks
the
so good.
platform coming out. And then when it froze on that, it looks a little like when you are just kind of like really like squinting at the design of like the ramp and stuff. It's like you can tell it's a set, right? Like it looks like a set, but
it's an amazingly done set. I was super impressed by it. If I saw that in a movie today, I'd be like, that's sick. I love that. It also feels like something you could see like on a stage, like
Yeah.
which I don't, and I almost like pictured like stage hands like pushing it like slowly and stuff. Like, I'm curious to know how exactly they did it, but the motion of it too is super smooth,
yeah.
Um,
I mean, and this was like groundbreaking stuff at the time, I'm pretty sure. Like these special effects. From what I know about this movie, which is just, wild to think about, right? It's just
Yeah.
like this is blowing people's minds back when they saw it in the cinema.
yeah, I mean, dude, I kind of had my mind blown a little bit.
Hell yeah, brother. I was like, "Oh, hey. Not too bad. Not too shabby. That's nice."
I was like, whoa, dude. There's aliens. They've had it surrounded for 2 hours.
Yeah.
There's a big crowd of onlookers.
Dude, all these soldiers, man, so trigger. This is a big point in the movie too. It's just like the way, like, if you look at all the soldiers, I think this is something that they've paid more attention to over the years with gun handling. But like every soldier like has their finger on the trigger, like ready to pull. It's not like you're supposed to keep your fingers on the side until you know you're going to shoot something. But they're all just like, finger on the trigger, ready to kill whatever comes out of this thing. And that plays into the whole hysteria, our tendency towards violence.
Yeah, it's almost like them not being as realistic works better, because again, like, these soldiers are so, like, sure, they're trained military people, but like there are things that rattle anyone, like, and like fucking an alien landing.
Yeah.
Like, you have unfathomable, inconceivable. Like, you have no idea what the limits of its power are, dude.
Yeah. Totally.
So, but like, again, I do think it is. I definitely noticed that, like, how, and also like a lot of them look like really young too.
Yeah.
Like, there's one point where the guy who's driving, I was like, that guy looks like he's like 18, like, probably, which all I think works into, and this movie really, like, it's not like, it doesn't feel. I think sometimes movies of this time can feel very almost like propaganda, like the US is like The U.S. is so good, and like the USSR fucking sucks. But
No, it's a critique of all government. It feels like.
it's I think it's a critique of like the like human condition on Earth right now, like
Yeah.
the way that we treat each other. I think that's like the most fucking that's like the biggest part of them. It's like so crucial, and we'll get into the specifics of it more later on too. But I was really impressed by that because I was ready to be like for a fucking thing, a movie where it's like I'm getting fucking red, white, and blue like thrust down my throat, like you know, like
right,
but
right after we win World War II, the U.S. is top
we're gonna
dog.
fucking kick these aliens fucking ass. You know, I
You're
really
expecting an Independence Day.
I had no I had no idea what this movie was about. That's so
Right.
wild. But back to the dudes. And on the whole point of them having their fingers on the trigger, you know, he like we see the whole like section lifting and like it becomes a ramp for the like UFO.
Looks great.
Yeah, and then you know, he comes out and he says, "We have come to visit you in peace and in goodwill."
His outfit's pretty goofy, but I'm into it.
I like it. He's got a good physique. He really fills it out.
Oh yeah.
I would look silly in that. But yeah, so he like reaches this is also I think contextually it makes a little bit of sense, but it is kind of wild that he just doesn't say anything and holds like a mysterious object out at them, right? Like you can understand why they're freaked out, but also like he comes from a place where you get murked if you like commit any act of aggression or violence. So in his conception, in his like context, it's like, why would I be trying to do something violent to you?
Yeah. So much of the movie is him just kind of like slowly understanding why humans are the way they are.
And then they fucking shoot him, and his doodad gets fucking broken, dude.
Yeah, it sure does. Which is kind of weird. Was the bullet supposed to, because he's holding it in his hand, but he gets shot in the shoulder. So is it like,
I think he like then falls and like it breaks.
is that what happens? It almost seems like he shot it and it like hit him and the shoulder, but I don't know. I was confused by the angles, but it's fine.
Dude, well, yeah. God, this movie sucked. No, yeah, no, I was, it was a little confusing, but I feel like my brain a lot of times in movies is like, okay, message received. Like it's just like okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what I
get
did with
yeah.
it, but you know, yeah, if we're gonna talk
But no,
about
no,
it,
for sure. No, I'm just saying why I was just like why
you connected the dots subconsciously and moved on. Basically.
Yeah, I was just like he got shot and he fell on it, and like it broke because it's like a little science doodad. I was too busy thinking about how much I love the word doodad. And I was like typing in my notes, doodad. Oh shit, it's broken. And then and then that's when I wrote, there's another dude coming out.
Yeah,
and
I love what we learn his name is Gort.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was supposed to be another alien, maybe
Yeah.
like I was like, is it like a suit so that he can like be on the atmosphere? Cause like
He might be my favorite part of this movie, dude. I fucking love Gort. I get down with Gort.
yeah, Gort, Barada.
His freaking like underwear set up, like he's got the big like robot diaper on.
I have never thought of it like that, but it is kind of like a robot diaper. It's where he takes his little like robot dookies. I need to change my diaper. It's full of nuts and washers.
He's so iconic, though. I mean, like whether or not you've seen this movie, like you've seen this image before of this robot, because I feel like he's just invasive in sci-fi. You know, this super tall, eerie robot dude with a cyclops eye.
Yeah, and like the visor's really sick. The way
Yeah.
it like comes up, you know, like when he's like gonna like fuck shit up.
It kind of it ends up being what the climax of the movie is, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a bit of a fucking nice little setup, like visually, like and good like visual storytelling as well. Yeah, everyone fucking freaks the fuck out, you know, and it's kind of a funny shot because it's one of those like it feels like I feel like I've seen these shots a lot, but it's almost like the footage has been sped up to make it look like, oh my god, they're really
when
freaking
everyone's
out.
sprinting away.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looked kind of funny. But yeah, then we see his power, dude. He melts all the fucking weapons.
And the tank, yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's fucking wild. And I put a note here. I was like, is this like is this like a suit? Like what exactly like is, because I was still kind of unsure of what he is. But then we get fucking
Platoon.
yeah, he says Gort, Declato, Prosco.
Oh, you got the alien words. Good.
Oh yeah, I fucking love the alien language stuff. I am a big fan of linguistics. Big fan. Big fan of like created languages. That shit is fucking sick. Like
I was intrigued by it. It almost sounded like Latin to me or something. Like just some of the way the consonants strung together. You didn't get that at all? The
no.
ending with the like oohs and ahs. I don't know.
No, it just sounded like this is gonna be like alien-ish.
Just alien gibberish.
I felt like the Klaatu, Gort, Declato, Prosco, Barada. It's all kind of funny. I like now that I'm saying some of it. Like, well, burrata sounds like burrata, like, like
burrata cheese,
like, like fucking a little bit of cheese, a little bit of soft cheese, some soft cheese. So I do see that with that, but yeah, no, I didn't like the overall, but I thought that like the vibe of the language, it kind of fit, like strung together, right?
Right. How many miles away is Venus? Because we do get no. Okay, so it's not Venus. How many miles away?
Are you trying to look at what the closest planet is?
Is Mars. No, because he says coming up in a little bit that he came from 250 million miles away. So it must be Mars. Mars is 175 million miles away, but maybe at a different, time in the orbits.
Dude, I think that he's yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Like I was in my stupid little brain. I was like, damn, that's so far away. Like, so he's not from the solar system, but no. And then like as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, no, that's right. 250 million miles in the scale of the solar system isn't like.
I wasn't sure, but I was like, yeah, that's probably still one of these planets, because they do mention later at one point on the radio, I think, like, most likely he's from Mars or Venus. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They thought Venus was the most likely place that alien life existed back in like that era, which is just so cool to think about. That like here we are 70 years ago, unsure if there's like a whole other human civilization on the planet next door.
Yeah, pretty fucking wild. I also love like thinking about like, hey, they're gonna start like going into space, like, and like fucking land on the fucking moon and shit. Like that's so fucking sick, dude. Yep. It's wild. We're born in a post like space like world, and that's fucking insane to think about. Like the wonder of looking up at the sky back in like the like early half of the 20th century. Man, wow.
That's the wonder of the universe, man. Theme number 3. Absolutely. I feel like
being number 3? Oh, you said theme number 3.
Yeah.
Because we are number 3.
Are we? I thought we were number 4. Cast.
No, the Earth, brother.
Oh, I see what you did.
We're number 3.
Yeah, we should probably do this podcast on Mars so we can stay thematically consistent.
Cinema Mars cast. Change the name. Yeah, that's wild that he's supposed to be from like Mars or Venus. Very cool, Well, have you ever seen like people talk about like there's these YouTube videos you can watch where they talk about the adaptations that like a living being would have to live on these different climates? There was even a fucking Discovery Channel show about like they did all this like CGI like recreations of like the creatures like and show these scenes of these alien planets. You ever watch anything like that?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, they had the documentary on Netflix or whatever, Strange Worlds or something.
Yeah, and Neil deGrasse Tyson also did an episode on it in the Cosmos, I think.
Cosmos
on their reboot, yeah.
God, the Cosmos fucks.
Yeah, and I think there was an old Cosmos episode too on it actually that Carl Sagan did. Yeah, I love the Cosmos. I watched every episode of the original.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Good.
I think I've seen every episode of. Well, I don't know. Is the new Cosmos still running?
I think it was just one season. It might have been 2. I don't know. Yeah,
who knows? We'll cover it on a bonus episode.
All of the Cosmos.
Yeah, fuck it. We can do it. We're Cinema Forecast, dude. We're bigger than the universe, baby.
Yeah. So. Okay.
His doodad was a gift to the president.
Yeah.
He
to study life on other planets. Is that what he said it for? Yeah, which is really cool. That was so nice of him. So thoughtful.
It was sick. I was really bummed that they fucking broke his doodad.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna take him to Walter Reed Hospital.
Yep, and he gets a visit from Harley.
Yeah, Mr. Harley, secretary to
of-
the president.
Yeah, good stuff. And so here's when we get. So I was just looking at this again, and this is really interesting now that I think about it. 250 million miles in 5 months. So if Mars is where he's from, it takes humans right now about 6 months to get to Mars. So basically, this uh, technology is supposed to be where our technology is at, like right now, which is really wild to think about.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Because that means they're really taking into account the limitations of the speed of light and how fast nuclear power would project us. Like, it feels like this was based on some hard science.
Hell yeah. I wonder, do you think maybe back then the measurement of the distance hadn't been like, maybe it was like inaccurate, and it's been like, and we've like zeroed in on it more now that we've actually landed on it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I mean,
We could look it up, but
yeah, but you know,
it's too much of a tangent. Look it up yourself, listeners, and comment down below
I mean, we've been
after you like and subscribe.
like even since like like the Mayans had a pretty good idea of like the celestial like movement of the stars, and so I don't know. I would imagine Galileo probably figured out about the distances a while ago, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, very curious, very curious. But then I love this exchange. This is another thing. If there's different types of alien movies that exist, but in this kind of alien movie where there's gonna be a lot of like interaction, I love the highlighting of the differences in culture. Like
Yeah.
I love how he says, I'm Mr. Harley, whatever, and then he says, my name is Klaatu, and he calls him Mr. Klaatu, and he says, just Klaatu.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's great. Kind of really shows maybe like I don't know, it implied this like lack of hierarchy in his society.
They're more humble was the vibe I got from it. You don't need to show extra respect. My name is enough.
Yeah, word, for sure. I like to imagine that it was because it's like this egalitarian sort of thing where
Yeah.
like, just call me Klaatu,
Yeah. Mr. Klaatu is my dad.
Mr. Klaatu was his dad, indeed. He wants to meet with all of the like
Rewind.
he wants to meet with representatives of all nations. And I love how he insists I cannot like give this message to one person alone.
Yeah.
It's too important to give to one person alone.
Yeah.
Until I find a foxy lady that I want to tell
Yeah.
all alone in an elevator.
I'm mixed on this plot point because it is a little frustrating that he can't just start saying stuff on the news and then go say it somewhere else. Like, why does everyone have to know at the same time? Like it feels a little forced just to kind of draw out the tension of him having that final like speech at the end. But it's like, just start telling people why you're here. Like, why are you making this so complicated?
It's a little silly, but it works for me. Again, this egalitarian culture thing where it's like, I don't like, the rigidness speaks to his alien culture, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, it is this, he like has a different way of operating. And it's like, no, dude, like, I think it's also almost like a test of like, if you guys can't get together to hear this message, then
Yeah.
like we might as well fucking
Just
get
blow
rid of
up
you now. You know?
Yeah, for sure. It's a good point.
But I see the frustration because I mean I don't mind getting frustrated in movies, but there's certain things where you're just like, God fucking damn it, like just tell each other you love each other, like shit like that, like where you're just like,
Well, because he's so reasonable. He's so freaking reasonable, and it's like, then just do the reasonable thing and start telling people your message so that they all stop trying to kill you and that you can end this manhunt. And like, just be like, instead of communicating and like resolving this issue, he just makes it like so much worse by like stoking their fear and paranoia by not saying anything and being like, I will tell you later. Like,
I think he's reasonable, but he's not a robotic.
yeah,
Like he's got emotion,
Yeah.
and I think that some of that speaks to that. He's not perfect. He has flaws himself,
Totally.
and I think the way that as someone who can be and is very stubborn, like dude, respect the hustle, No, but like actually, like there's something to it that
Yeah.
feels like that humanizes him for me. In a way.
I do want to point that out too. Is I really like they could have very easily made him more of that caricature that I was just talking about of like like I am perfect alien species, you are inferior humans, but he's kind of smug a lot of the time. He's kind of like, having a good time laughing at how like, like good try kids, like he does have these kind of I don't know, yeah, more human traits, something to
Yeah, he almost is like almost like patronizing.
yeah, totally.
Which I love. I like that he's a little smug, and the way that he talks and speaks in this way where it's like, bro, you've studied them. They know nothing about you. Fucking like lay it out for them,
Well, that's the frustration part, because
But that's well, not just like what his message is, but
Yeah.
just like when he's when he's talking to people,
Yeah.
he like puts shit in a way where he's like being like coy. But again, it's good for writing dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Like
And
ultimately.
I mean, yeah, it does a really good job of just building up the fun that this movie is playing around with, which is what if you were just like, what if someone who had way more advanced technology than any of us was just like, with you on the street?
Yeah. And so he like asks about the United Nations as well, and this is a great back and forth with Harley like telling him like that well, Klaatu says at the end of their conversation, this is the whole crux. I love how they sum it up. He says, I'm not as cynical about Earth's people, and Harley says, I've been dealing with Earth politics a lot longer. And he's just like, it's impossible to get these people together. You want to get these people together? It's not going to fucking happen. And Klaatu is like, well, it has to happen because the future of the Earth is at stake.
Yeah, he says he's not concerned with your petty squabbles.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's good shit. Yeah, and then the next scene is it's 2 a.m. and we see that the giant robot hasn't moved. They're talking about how the ship and the robot are both impregnable.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to fucking blowtorch it and shit, right? Like, and they've used like a diamond drill, but they're not able to get into any of it. And this is when we learn that the robot and the ship are made of the same material.
Yeah, very cool.
Some sort of future metal.
Yeah, like they say it's almost like it's not from this planet. That's because it's not.
Yeah. I can guarantee that, or some shit. Yeah. It's the dialogue is corny in a way that I enjoy.
Yeah, me too.
It is like did you experience this where like you felt like I could tell my mind had shifted to like a different sort of like viewing context, because I was like, this is from this is early 50s, 1951. So I was like, I received things differently.
I mean, I always try to kind of view it through the lens of the time a little bit, but of course your modern sensibilities are going to be the largest bias. But yeah, totally.
Like for example, Bobby really works for me as like a character.
Yeah, and he's extremely corny and like
he's like, oh gee willikers, mister,
but Ma.
He's such a fucking like caricature of like what we think of as like old-timey kids.
It's almost like he's the embodiment of the American dream to an extent. Like he's what's at stake here is kind of what the story is trying to say. Like you want the beautiful, like idealistic childhood wonder with the morals of America. His father died in fighting in World War II and all that, and it's like
his father died in World War II for that little shit to wear a fucking Yankees hat. Just joking. Love you, Bobby.
But yeah, he's kind of a representation to the audience of like the little Bobby's what's at stake here. Like put your petty squabbles aside.
He's so innocent, He's so innocent. When he like takes the diamonds or whatever for the $2, we'll keep this from Ma. And he's like, why? And he's like, she wouldn't like me stealing from anybody. Like he's also got like an awareness,
Yeah.
Yeah. Good character. But the next part was really cool where we get the sort of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I like these doctors. I wish they were in the movie more. They were very like kind of like baffled, and they're all like, what I love is they're talking about life expectancy and the advanced medicine, and they're all just smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
I don't know if in 1951 there was an awareness of like of how funny that is. I don't think there was at all. But with the modern lens of watching them, like, wow, they live like so long, and they're just like.
He's making me feel like a witch doctor.
Yeah, and the one guy is like, he says that he's like, I like treated that gunshot wound yesterday.
Yeah, it's already
And now
healed.
it's already healed. And oh, what did he? Oh, he put some salve on it, and he's like pretty much like, I think I'm gonna like quit practicing medicine.
Yeah, and they say that he basically has the exact same anatomy as far as they can tell, except he's 78, and
But he looks 35 or 37.
yeah, and he
Life expectancy is 130.
that's what I was gonna say. Yep, which is wild and cool, and like it's again, it's kind of it's doing the Star Trek thing of like this is what we could be if we would just stop killing each other over stupid shit.
Yeah, for sure. It reminded me a little bit of Mass Effect too, when he's like, we have like this like organization of like, like peaceful living creatures on other planets.
I wonder if the implication is that it's just like all the planets in our solar system. Like
That's wild.
Venus, Mars, they have a little coalition with Jupiter or something.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, it's very interesting. And I wonder, like, I wonder if like the person who wrote this story pictured them all being like humans,
Yeah.
or if he pictured just those being like humans. Very interesting.
Well, there is a couple moments of God mentioned, and I wonder if that's just kind of the
Oh my god,
undertone.
that was the one moment where I was like, what?
when the alien talks about the Almighty Spirit or something. Yeah.
But I like that he says it like that.
Yeah, he doesn't say like the one true
Jehovah.
God. Yeah.
He doesn't say like Jehovah.
Yeah.
But then we get Harley coming back, and he's kind of, to show the division of our world, he talks about how the president cabled to arrange meetings, and the premier would only attend if the meeting were in Moscow.
Yeah.
And then it's like the British government saying they would only attend if the meeting were in like Washington D.C.
Yeah.
And I like their back and forth is funny. Like I like it. It feels like a little bit of the chess match we talked about last month.
Totally.
Sort of like intellectual duel.
Yeah, I like this line a lot where Klaatu says he's impatient with stupidity. My people have learned to live without it, he says. And then Harley says, I'm afraid our people haven't.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. I love how, yeah, it feels so like it feels like the screen is pointing a finger at like the person watching the movie and be like, don't be fucking stupid.
Yeah,
like fucking think, dude.
There's definitely some finger wagging here, and
I kind of love it.
but it's like at such a tense moment in our history, right? In American history, where things are about to get a lot worse in terms of the paranoia and stuff. So this is kind of try to preemptively be like, okay, everyone calm down. Like, let's not lynch our neighbors here.
Yeah, yeah. And Klaatu expresses a desire to go out amongst the people, to better understand them. But he tells him that he can't leave, and he locks him in. And this reminded me of Clue immediately. Like, bro, you're locking the alien in?
I know. Well, that's one of the, and I think they are playing it up. But I could also, I don't know. People do or governments do a lot of stupid shit. I could see them actually handling it like this. But so he comes down here with technology way superior to ours. Tells you he comes in peace. You shoot him and then lock him up in the hospital. Like, come on, we can do better than that, right?
Yeah. And I love that shot of Michael Rennie just smiling
when they lock the door.
He's like, I'm gonna get
come
out
on,
of this.
bud. Yeah. So he escapes to no one's surprise, pretty much immediately.
Yeah, there's like a nurse and a police officer coming to bring him food, and
gasp, he's gone.
This is kind of goofy too, because the guy opens the door like he knows he's gone already.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, there's a couple of performances like that where I'm like, that's silly.
There's a moment later where Bobby's immediately suspicious late at night when he follows him out, and there's nothing that he's done yet that's suspicious, but he just sees him
No, it's
in the
because
hallway?
he asked for the flashlight because the light in his room has gone out.
Oh, and then the light's not out.
Yeah.
No, the movie's just too smart for me.
No, that one was good. There's another one that I made a note of as well that is kind of funny. But there's performances like that where it's like not really naturalistic. It's very sort of like broad, and it's like he opens the door and he's like looking all around. Like it's not like he opens the door and like looks at the bed. Because like now if you shot that, like the person, I'm making a great face right now, Connor. Here, I'm gonna do it like I would. Looking at the bed and just kind of like furrowing your eyebrows and like look around and be like,
Right. Inquisitive.
What the fuck? Where the fuck? hey, where the fuck did he go? Which is much more realistic, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I did notice, now we're speaking of just little things like that, and when the ship first lands in the field at the beginning, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, obviously they're not, the people who are looking up at the sky don't actually know where the ship is, right? And so I was like, do their eyes line up? And there was one lady who was just like looking in the wrong direction as the ship was flying over. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Fucking funny. Then we get this big montage. Everyone's freaking out because the alien is loose.
All around the world.
And I also, do you think they would admit this nowadays?
That the alien was loose? No.
No.
No, no.
Never.
Way. No shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is when they say on the radio they believe they came from Venus or Mars.
I love that it's like there's the shot of him walking down the street and they're talking about 8 foot tall with tentacles, and then they do say that thing. And I love how you're just like the shot of him and he's like so normal looking. You know, I love the contrast of that. Like a really good juxtaposition.
Right, he stole the suit.
From a major carpenter.
Yeah, so it has a carpenter's name on it, which is his alias for the rest of the movie.
This is Sabrina Carpenter's grandfather, I guess?
Double it. I love this shot of the family, or I don't even know.
No, it's a boarding house.
Right, boarding house. But
and they're
like
all
this community.
They're
I
all
guess.
watching the TV, and again, play of light and dark. This is an amazingly executed.
This is one of the best looking scenes in the movie.
The light play is so good. There's some other moments that are done excellently as well. I think when Bobby is following Klaatu later on. Also, I referred to him as Klaatu the entire movie in my notes.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
I went to type Carpenter once, and I was like, nah, man.
I mean, it's too many letters, anyways. Yeah.
Klaatu is so much more fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all watching the news broadcast about like how the alien is on the loose, and then the room is kind of like dark, and then he walks
all
in.
their silhouettes against the TV gathered around. You can feel the kind of dread and fear, right? The fear of the unknown that they're all experiencing,
and Bobby's the first one to notice him, and he's like, "Hey, what's that?" You know, which is again playing in this thing that he is like, he is an alien in a way, and I think that it's kind of cool that he doesn't acknowledge him as like, "Hey, who is that?" He's like, I think that's what he says. Maybe I'm wrong, but they are kind of like, oh my god, like kind of like, oh shit, did the alien just fucking walk up on us?
Yeah, and he's just standing there in the shadows. And this might be the most menacing shot of him in the whole movie, where he just like slowly walks into the darkness and they turn the light on and he's still in the darkness, and then they turn on another light and he's like, oh, hey, there he is.
No, he walks into the light.
Oh, okay.
Which I love.
Yeah.
Walking to the light. It looks so good.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to say, it's interesting you say that because he looks menacing in that. And I think what it is the metaphor of the movie of like, get to know me as I step into the light.
Right.
See me for what I truly am and know that I'm not a threat.
Right. Yeah, it's a perfect metaphor of the movie for sure. Yeah, I picked up on that. Totally picked up on that. Then they basically give him a bed at the house. Bobby takes a quick interest in him. They're at breakfast the next morning.
Yeah, I do want to say I like the line where Miss Benson says, "You're a long way from home," and Klaatu says, "Oh, how'd you know?" And she says, "I can spot a New England accent."
Oh yeah, and Klaatu liked that.
Yeah, he did. I liked it too. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just English that he speaks, or like.
I would think he would speak more. Like, I mean, they've been studying the broadcast and they learned. Maybe he did just. Who knows how long they've been studying humans, right?
Right. So on the radio, they're saying they need to destroy the menace, which is, wild. Like, he has to die. The question is how, basically.
It's wild.
Damn.
And then, they're talking about him like as a wild animal to be hunted down. And this is in the newspaper. This is the first time we hear of Dr. Barnhart. He's like a Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah.
And he becomes a sort of like central figure, right? To launch his whole. This is kind of a little, dare I say, convoluted, but it is fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird setup of the cast because it's taken a long time to even really get to the family. And I would say like Mrs. Benson, Bobby, and Klaatu are kind of the main three of this movie, but it's not your conventional, here's like the protagonists of the story and it's their journey. It doesn't really feel like anyone in the movie necessarily has an arc other than like humanity, I guess.
Yeah. I like how Mrs. Benson is like, everybody assumes he's a menace, but maybe he's not.
Yeah.
He's probably afraid because he just got shot.
That's when I keyed in right there, like, oh, she's going to be like the voice of reason for the rest of the movie, probably.
Yeah, and then Klaatu and talking with them, and he like starts to engage in giving like sort of this like back and forth about like, and he says something about your strange ways, and the lady says, "There's nothing strange about Washington, Mr. Carpenter."
Yeah, that was a good line. No, there's another really good line too, where he's like, "Well, why don't they do anything about it?" And he's like, "They're just people like me or like us." And he's like, "People my foot, they're Democrats."
Yeah, he does say that. That's really funny. And this is where the lady says that she thinks that it's a Russian, like
Yeah.
that he's a Russian dude,
Yeah.
like a Russian agent. And Mrs. Benson is courting with Mr. Stevens, Tom Stevens.
Yeah, Tom.
And Helen Benson courting each other, but there's no one to watch Bobby. So Klaatu offers.
This is
his
always
services.
a sign of the time for me too, of just like, oh, a stranger we just met last night. Yes, go take my son for the day.
Well, they were like, she does like say, "Do you think it's okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine."
But yeah, that would never happen now. Well, maybe
Yeah.
it would, but rarely.
Yeah, no, I know. I thought about that for sure. Stranger danger. And we get this cool sort of thing where Bobby's showing Klaatu around town, tells him that, takes him to his dad's grave, and tells him he was killed in Anzio.
Yeah. Oh, and just another like, they do a good job characterizing Tom pretty quickly. I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be an asshole, isn't he? Because he's like, can we bring Bobby
Yeah.
along?
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's just like,
Yeah.
But he
yeah.
wants to marry her, but he doesn't want anything to do with her son.
No,
Like,
I know,
He's
yeah.
slimy from the start.
Yeah, he sucks. I don't like him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she fucking dumps his ass by the end of
Yeah,
it.
hell yeah.
Klaatu's way
One of
hotter.
those situations where I'm like, I don't know if I really buy her being interested in this guy in general, but I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, it was a different time as well.
Totally.
It was
Well,
a
like,
different time.
It was really fascinating society-wise just to see what does courting look like in the early 1950s with a single mother. Like, that's such a, I don't know, just unique, like, framing and period, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine there were a lot of like widows,
Yeah.
like who were young, like young
Yeah.
widows that, still had a lot of life in front of them and wanted to, find love once more.
Right, well, I guess I was struck by just how familiar it felt. Like, it didn't seem that different than what it looks
Right,
like now.
yeah, it wasn't like, oh, scandalous.
Yeah.
I mean, there is one point where the like boarding house lady is like,
Being a little cheeky,
well, she says like, I wouldn't go out after dark, like.
but I'm not
Right
courting.
now. Yeah, but I'm not courting, and I was like, okay, whoa, Ms. Barley, I think is her name.
Yeah,
Is it Mrs. Barley? Maybe not. I
that
don't know.
sounds right. Yeah, so Bobby's dad died, like you said, World War II, very sad.
Yeah.
Um,
We do get a lot of like cool back and forth, like with Bobby kind of explaining a lot of shit to Klaatu, and he says, "You don't seem to know much about anything," which I love how direct this kid is. It's really good.
Yeah, and Klaatu says here they don't have any wars where he comes from. Pretty soon here we get the trade of the 2 diamonds for $2 because
Yeah.
the currency in Klaatu society is just like straight up diamonds, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, and later on he like even like justifies it. He's like, cause someone's like, someone says something. Oh no, he says it right here, right? Like, or at one point he's
Later,
like,
I think, but yeah,
he's
good.
like, yeah, it's a really effective form of currency. He's almost like defensive about it. Like, why wouldn't you use diamonds to pay for stuff? Like, you're fucking wild.
Yeah, I mean they're hard. They're you can't break them.
That was another part of it too, where he says at one point, like, more profitable ventures. Like, so it's definitely like there's like an implication of like a almost like this
Hardcore capitalists.
capitalist society that's being like the
Super
alien
peaceful.
society, like peaceful capitalist society
Yeah.
where they pay for stuff with diamonds. And the fact that he said more profitable ventures, I almost laughed out loud. I was like,
Yeah,
really?
when I heard that, I was thinking more of like you could call like profit doesn't mean monetary necessarily.
Right,
Like profitable
right.
for all of humanity. But yeah, Yeah, I had the same thought.
With
where I
the
was like,
diamonds, though, it was just fucking funny. It's like, oh my god, dude, these are like some hardcore like libertarians. Like, just like, yep, everything's great.
Oh yeah, and then they go visit the memorial.
I just want to say, you don't
Lincoln's
need
memorial.
road maintenance when you have spaceships. You know.
Yeah. He must have been a great man.
The way he stares at the thing, he's like, "Those are great words." He's
Right.
like, so like, he's like, humans fucking suck, but this guy like said something sick.
Yeah, which I do kind of love. I mean, it's kind of what you were talking about, like that you were more expecting for the movie, which was a lot of like American flag waving and stuff. But I do like this moment in a contrast to, wow, humanity really does suck. But hey, we're not always so bad. Like Lincoln was onto some shit, you know?
Yeah, it is really like, I wonder like contextually though, you know, like, yeah, what he said is great, but like the fact that his greatness is so tied to undoing and cannot undo, but ending the most like horrible part of like American history, like with
Right.
slavery, like that to me, I thought about, I like could not think about that. I was like, there's this like, there's so much tragedy in that, in the recognition of his greatness, like that it's almost like, if I were an alien, would I be like, where would I net out better or worse, you know? But I mean, it's a sign of progress,
Right.
stuff.
And I take it that Klaatu's people weren't always this way.
For sure. No, for sure. For sure.
They must have had great people, quote unquote.
Yeah, he can recognize that this guy symbolizes progress that was made
Yeah.
in at least this country, you know?
Right. And that's all, that's all great men can really be, is moving society forward towards
sure.
progress.
It's just, I was like in my mind, I was just like, that's
Yeah, for sure. No, it's
rough to think about.
Definitely. I like that angle.
But again, I do want to just say, I did the read. It is like the way he does it. I love how this is like an actor, dude.
Yeah.
This is the way he looks at it and his delivery. And this is like a different style of acting than like what is like so much more naturalistic now. But this guy is like fucking like putting on a show for you, the way he's like, those are great words. He must have been a great man. It's so good.
It's so reverent.
Yes, I loved it. It was
I liked
so
it
great.
too.
I don't know if I've knowingly seen this guy in a movie before, but I want to seek out other ones of his, because I like immediately kind of like big fan.
Yeah,
like big
I like him too.
charisma. Like I remember the first time I saw Gregory Peck in fucking To Kill a Mockingbird, and I was like, this guy has some fucking like weight to him, and I was like, wow, dude. There's just some actors like that, who like really fucking blow you away, and you're like, I want more of that.
Yeah, I agree. He rocks it in this. They go to the park again, and they're just kind of checking it out at first, because they mentioned going to see the scientist before this. So I thought, and then the scientist was mentioned on the news that he was going to be at the park. So I was like, oh, they're going to go see the scientist here, and maybe that's why they did come, to see if he was there. But it kind of just felt like they were just checking
Bobby
it out.
just asked, like, can we go there? Can we go see it?
Right.
Because I don't know if he's gone to see it yet.
Yeah.
He also, I like, there's a fun little back and forth where he asked Bobby, who's the greatest man on Earth? And Bobby says, Spaceman.
Well, besides him,
Yeah, he's like, okay, who's the greatest Earthman? He's like, Professor Barnhart, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then that's the whole, like, then that becomes why they're like seek him out later
I do have
on.
a hard time believing that this little kid is like looking up to some cutting edge physicist in Washington D.C. But
Man, when I was a little kid, Albert Einstein was like my hero.
well, that's what I was expecting, was something like that. Maybe this is a plug-in for that.
This is I think like analogous, right? Like it's
So you think this is supposed to be Einstein?
no,
Okay, but just like
like
if
a similar thing. It's like
Right.
like a very smart like dude, won the Nobel Prize, like
yeah.
cutting edge physicist perhaps, and like enough of like a celebrity that like children like look up to him and admire him, right?
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I like.
Also, it's because he's aware of him because his mom works at the Department of Commerce.
Oh yeah,
which is like near, like next to like his, like I think next to, I don't know. He mentions a proximity between like, and it seems like that's how he knows of Professor Barnard, is because his mom knows him, working close to him or something like that.
Right. Right. I like this little jab here where the news stops to interview Bobby and Klaatu, and when they get to Klaatu, he's like, "Do you think people should be panicked?" And he's like, "Are you scared?" And he like gives a very reasonable answer.
I am fearful when I see people substituting fear for reason.
Yeah, and they just immediately are like, "Okay, next. This guy.
Yeah.
This is not good news."
But what
Footage.
he's talking to Bobby, and Bobby says, "That's the biggest spaceship I've ever seen." This is funny.
Yeah.
Also, there's like Bobby's asking about how the ship works, and I love this. He's like, and Klaatu is just explaining it to him. He's like, it works on atomic power. He's like, I thought that was only for like bombs, and it's like, no, it's good for other things. And then he's like explaining like, how would you get it? And Bobby's asking good questions.
Yeah,
like,
I think he asked him,
how would
like,
you
how'd
slow
you-
it down to land?
Yeah.
And then he's explaining inertia to him, and everyone's like staring at him and like, no, go on, mister. He was really believing it. Ha ha ha. Like,
Yeah, that part really just like,
and
oh.
I'm like, you guys are all so fucking dumb. Like, holy shit. Like, this guy's fucking spitting straight facts, dog. And you're just not fucking listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of a cynical look as much as there is kind of these moments of look how great humanity can be. Mostly it's a very cynical look at how shitty people are.
Yeah, the way that the interviewer walks away is just such a great like fucking like visual sort of like representation of that.
Totally.
And at the end of this scene is where we get the line, "I like you, Mr. Carpenter. You're a real screwball."
Yep.
Fucking funny. And this is when they go to see Professor Barnhart, but
Yep.
but he's not there. No one answers.
Yep. So like you do, you sneak inside and write some equations on his celestial blackboard.
Yeah, it's a celestial mechanics problem that he's been working on. And then the lady finds them and she's like, "How dare you? He's been working on it for weeks." I thought she was gonna say like months or something, or like, but no, it's just weeks. That's okay.
Yeah, I do really like how smug Klaatu is when he's looking at the blackboard. He's just like shaking his head like, "Oh, you little sweet thing."
You were so close. I mean, and later on he explains to him. He's like, "No, man, like, no, your intuition was good with these things."
Yeah.
She almost erases it too.
He'll never get it that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
she does almost erase it.
But Klaatu's like, "No, don't do that."
Yeah, he leaves an address.
He fully does the Dikembe Mutombo finger wave at her. No.
Next thing I have is Mrs. Benson, Helen, we'll eventually get her name, comes back with Tom. She's hesitant to marry him. It's kind of subtly given to us that he had proposed to her and she's thinking it over, which is kind of like an interesting backdrop to the movie. It's like it's an important like core of these characters in an otherwise like movie that's very focused around the political. Like, I don't know. What do you think about this whole little romance thing going on with Helen and Tom?
I don't know. I feel like it's just like they've been seeing each other for a while. I think it is sort of this thing where like she's been seeing him for a while, and like obviously he has his flaws, but like it's like when this happens, you really see someone's true colors, and I think there's supposed to be the idea that they're really serious about this. Like, and I mean, man, it's like the fucking 50s. Like, you're not just dating to see what the scene is like. You're dating to like get married, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point of this. So I think it was sort of adding just a way to sort of ratchet up the tension and show the level of like how close they are, or how like developed their relationship really is, and showing again, people show their true colors in these moments, you know?
There's part of me that was wondering if part of the message of the movie is like, don't you want to be the husband that could, fulfill this role for a woman like Helen? Well, you got to be better than the shithead Tom. Be more like Klaatu.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a little bit is, I definitely feel like it is like, like, this is not a good guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like shoved in your face, but like I hated him. I was like, you fucking suck.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is just narrative and how much of that is like the themes of the story, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Before they walk in, we get a guy, Brady, who's who comes for Klaatu. Klaatu
Yep.
thinks it's Professor Barnhart who's come for him, and I was like, oh shit, this is so weird because then Klaatu introduces Benson to the man, and Bobby's like, he's a government agent. And I'm like, oh shit, have they found him out?
Yeah.
But then ultimately,
Little
it's
red
just
herring,
like,
yeah.
they bring him to the professor.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Yeah, and Klaatu immediately tells Barnhart he's from another planet. He says it because he says something. Oh yeah, he says like, how do you know this fucking like? How do you know this? How were
I've
you able to
applied
figure
it,
this out?
yeah.
And he was like, oh, it's very useful when traveling from one planet to another.
Right. And
And he
then
did
he gives him a little cheeky, like,
cheeky smile.
yeah.
I love the show of faith from Barnhart.
Yeah.
Where he dismisses the MP, and it's like, okay, let's talk, let's chat.
And he finally tells us and humanity basically why he's here, which is you have nukes and you're about to go into space, and that's not gonna fly.
Yeah.
You guys are crazy motherfuckers, and something needs to be done.
Yeah, I love it. The point where he's like, my patience is wearing thin. He's like,
Yeah.
do I need to resort to violence? That seems to be the only fucking thing that works for y'all.
Yeah.
He says, do I need to flatten New York? Do I need to flatten your Earth, New York City?
Or sink
the
Gibraltar.
Rock of Gibraltar. Yeah.
Which I love too. Yeah, great little back and forth. And he's like asking him, so what will happen if they refuse to take your offer? And he's like, there is no alternative. Like,
Yeah.
you guys either do this, we're gonna fucking blow you up.
The Earth will be eliminated if they don't agree to Klaatu's terms, basically. And Barnhart, I kind of love how he's immediately like, all right, let's fucking do this. I think there should be some sort of show of force before the meeting.
Yeah.
And then they're like, let's not like hurt anyone or destroy anything. And Klaatu's like, don't worry, my guy, I got you.
Yep.
The next scene is really funny. Again, this like
Klaatu watching them play rummy.
comedic, like
Yeah.
sort of like, oh, your world is so alien to me, you know? It's like, and they ask him if he wants to play cards. He's like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Just want to watch.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And then he's talking to Helen, and he's like, he's asking her like why everyone is so, and then she says jittery, you know?
Yeah.
And
He's commenting on how Bobby
yeah.
isn't jittery, and
yeah, exactly.
and how
He's a fine boy.
yeah, he's like impressed by that, which again is exemplifying like why he wanted to spend time with Bobby. He wanted to see, are humans capable of getting where we need them to get, and Bobby proved to him that yes, this is a totally fine person here.
Yeah.
There's no reason we can't reason something out if other people can be like Bobby here.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also like in that moment, you know, sitting amongst the people too. Like, you know, he's saying that like, despite the crazy shit they're saying, just like playing cards, just like chilling. Like
Yeah.
they're not, you know, they're not like, not everyone is wildly violent like 100% of the time.
Yeah, good point too. Yeah.
And Benson, Helen Benson, in fact, she says she wants to know why that guy came looking for him. And we have one of these perfectly timed moments where Stevens shows up. And he says here, you know, to further his douchery, he says, I don't like the way he's attached himself to you and Bobby.
He's jealous, yeah.
Yeah, obviously jealous. This guy's taller than him.
Sexier,
and handsomer.
smarter.
And, dude, from another planet. Would that be bonus or, like, minus for you?
Bonus.
Cool. Respect, dude. You heard it here. Cinema Forecast loves aliens.
Hell yeah. That's why we're doing a whole month. Whole month on aliens.
Whole month of those fucking aliens. And then, like, I guess there's also the aspect of Tom provides this thing where he, like, says that to Helen. And now Helen is sort of saying to Bobby, I don't think you should spend so much. She says, I don't think we should see as much of Mr. Carpenter. And he's like, dude, he's my best friend.
Which is really sweet.
It is really sweet. He says he's my best friend, and he's really good at arithmetic because we see that he's like helping him with like his math
Yeah, he's
homework.
doing like division or something.
Yeah, I think I think it's like fractions,
Oh yeah, because he's like carry the, yeah, whatever.
or maybe it was division. I can't remember.
I don't know. Oh,
And he mentions that he helped. He's like he's really good at arithmetic. He even helped Barnhart.
Yep. Which, you know, raises Helen's eyebrow.
Yeah, she's like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's helping this genius
Dude, what the fuck are you
physicist.
guys doing?
It's a fun little throughout, the slow realization of what Klaatu is kind of the one of the fun tensions in the movie.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's well done. Like this how things are slowly revealed. And she leaves, tells him to not forget to brush his teeth, to go to bed, and he immediately pulls out his like train set, starts playing with it. And also the like timing of all this was so funny to me because it's just like, all right, like he was helping with the homework, he leaves. Helen's like, all right, I'm gonna leave, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
And then she leaves. He immediately
Almost like
pulls
a
his
play,
like,
right?
yeah. Well, it was so like quickly timed. Then he walks back in. And he's like, "Hey, can I borrow a flashlight?"
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like I could see the set, and it's just Bobby's room is the play,
Yeah.
right? And it's just the characters wandering in and out as they're setting up all this stuff. Yeah.
And then we do get a cool line where Klaatu says to Bobby something about a train with no tracks.
Yeah, which is fun. Yeah.
Bobby's like, a train with no tracks. And this is the whole scene we had discussed earlier where he says the thing about the light being out, and Bobby sees the light on in his room, and then he follows Klaatu as he leaves the building. And I was like, this is wild, dude. This little kid, like, the shot of the street and Klaatu walking down the street, and then you see Bobby like come into frame, and he's
Yeah.
also, I'm like,
Nice play with the shadows and the darkness.
this
too.
is wild.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have done this when I was a kid. I would definitely not have followed this strange man.
No, but they're also he's his best friend, Alfredo.
He is his best friend, and he's good at arithmetic. He even helped Professor Barnhart. Yeah, the darkness throughout the sequence is so good.
Yeah, it's really
It
good.
looks really great. A lot of like walking into and out of shadows, and ultimately Klaatu walks up to the spaceship, and we see that he uses the like flashlight to activate.
Which is fun.
Gort.
Yeah, he's using some sort of form of like Morse code basically to turn Gort back on. And give him some instructions, which he then walks up to the two soldiers, and we see off camera he's bonked their heads together, I assume, because it looked like he was positioning to bonk their heads together. I would have liked the bonk, but maybe they just thought it'd look too goofy.
Yeah, who knows? It is. I didn't mind like the sort of like before and after sort of shot.
Way, yeah.
And then he says, "Gort Berenga."
Yes, he does. He goes inside and speaks to the ship as well. And Bobby runs home.
Yeah, Bobby's super freaked out.
He waits up for Mom, and Mom goes on to gaslight the shit out of Bobby.
Yeah, for sure. Before that, we do see Klaatu is in like what seems to be the control center of the ship.
Yeah.
This is the first time we see the inside, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's activating all this shit, and I love the like all the like different looking fucking like controls and stuff.
Pretty ahead of its time in terms of motion sensor stuff. Like there's a lot of like waving in front of buttons.
Yeah,
and
no, I know. I loved
it.
it. I thought it looked really cool, very like believable. And there is this shot that I really like where he like notices the flashlight in his hand and he like looks down on it and he like lingers on it for a second before he puts it in his pocket. And I was like, there's nice little like, oh yeah, Bobby, like in his mind.
Good stuff.
I definitely wrote the same thing, that fucking Helen just gaslights the shit out of Bobby. you weren't sleeping. You were just sleeping.
At all.
Yeah, and then they do. He does give him like they find the diamond that he. Oh no, they find a diamond in his room.
Mom does. Yeah.
Yeah, because she tells him go see. Look at his room.
Bring Klaatu down here to tell Bobby that he's...
She even calls him Klaatu, too.
Bring Klaatu down here to tell Bobby that he's a stupid shit who was
he's a
sleeping.
Fucking lying piece of shit. And he finds a diamond in his room, and he's like, yeah, no, he's got plenty of diamonds. And that's when they're like, oh, shit, is this guy like some sort of crook or something? Like,
yeah.
Well, that's what Tom says. He thinks that. And I love how at the end of this, she...
Actually, I think it's Bobby who's like, do you think he's heisting diamonds, Ma?
Well, I think because, he's like excited about he thinks he's like a diamond thief. That's fucking funny. And Bobby's still like, whatever, he's still my friend. I love him. I love the way she realizes that his shoes are wet.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, grass was kind of wet.
Yeah, he plays it kind of smug too. He's like, because I'm not lying, Mom.
Yeah, he even like says something to her. I don't know. I thought that his performance was good in that, and also it was just so fucking wild, dude. She's like, no, you were just having a dream.
Yeah, the
That's
way
insane.
she gaslights him, yeah.
So being a kid in the 50s was like,
Yeah. Hey man, I could see parents doing that now.
oh,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. We do see that Helen is at work, and she's the last one out to lunch, and Klaatu shows up, and you can see
Yeah.
she's like,
Scared of him.
yeah, she's definitely like freaked out by him. Then she gets a call from Stevens. He's at the diamond appraiser.
Right.
And I love this whole sort of like setup of the next 30 minutes or whatever that's
Yeah.
that's going to happen, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the appraiser tells him that these diamonds.
That happens later on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right now what it is
Klaatu and her talking.
yeah, cuz Stevens is like, "Do you want to go to lunch?" And she's like, let me call you back later."
Yeah.
And then Klaatu wants to know what Bobby told her last night.
Yep.
Cuz he saw Bobby says, "I saw Bobby this morning. I would like to know what he told you."
Yep. And they go into the elevator.
Yeah, but the first one's too crowded.
Yeah. So they go into the next one,
Perfect setup.
and this is
To be
when
alone.
the Earth stands still. I guess this is probably the most titular moment of the movie, right? I mean, the whole story is kind of like what would happen if aliens came, but this is the moment where like literally all technology gets shut down momentarily for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it starts with the elevator when it stops working, and he tells her that they're going to be there for 30 minutes. And he says that electricity all over the world has been neutralized, and she was like, Bobby was telling the truth, wasn't he? Yes, Helen, he was telling the fucking truth. Then there's a big musical sting and the huge montage of everything
Shutting
not
down.
working. And I really love that that's the thing that he does.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I have a very hard time believing that he could do this without killing anyone. Like excluding all the planes in the skies and everything.
And the hospitals, yeah.
Yeah, like there's so many. Like the fact that all these cars could stop at once without crashing into shit, like, you know.
Fucking Barnhart
Wild.
is like a pig in shit, dude. He is so stoked, dude. He's like,
"Are you scared?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "Yes, I am." And he's like, "Good."
yeah, he's like, does all this frighten you? Like, I'm like, dude, you're like kind of mad scientist right now,
Yeah.
dude. Very fucking funny.
This pleases me. I think he says that.
Oh my god. Ugh. And then yeah, just reiterating that everyone is coming to the meeting, you know, and they're curious what they're gonna talk about, right? And I love, I just like, it totally would be a state of emergency, right? If like all electricity was cut off, but part of me like kind of saw some like comedy in it where I was like, look at us, dude, can't even live 30 minutes without our fucking electricity.
Right. I know.
Because I'm thinking the whole time, this is all happening within 30 minutes. They've gathered all these fucking people and they're like, we're ready to declare a state of emergency. And I'm like, would all of them get there that fast? Like, like wrangling up that many people would take like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It'd be so funny to like wrangle everyone up for the meeting. They go to sit down and the lights come back on. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. People would definitely be flipping the fuck out if all the power in the world went off
Yeah.
for 30 minutes.
But not planes or hospitals.
Does he say that?
No.
But we
they
just
say
have to
that,
assume.
No. They say that on when they're talking about declaring a state of emergency or whatever. They're like, the craziest thing about how they did this is that that they somehow were able to not affect planes in the air and hospitals.
Oh, I missed that line. Okay, well then I guess they addressed my main thing of like.
Yeah, no, well he says that he does it, but still really wild that he did it, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's cool that he was able to selectively do it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but like, hey.
It might
fine.
with his alien technology.
Yeah, who knows?
The next scene is at the appraiser, and there's a really funny
Maybe you could
back
tell
and
the
forth.
AI, like it's AI ran, and it's just like, okay, exclude all hospitals and planes from this.
Or I mean, maybe it's just like works fast enough and is good enough, and he's like smart enough and like. I mean, he's got a robot. But at the appraiser, there's a really funny back and forth where he says to her, the guy says, "Have you called the electrician?" And she's like, "The phone isn't working." He's like, "Have you called the phone company?" It's like, the phone isn't working.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
a good
really
little
fucking
bit.
funny. And then, yeah, this diamond, he says, again, people saying this shit, this at least works a little bit better for me because he is a diamond expert, but he's like, there's nothing like this on Earth.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, come on. There's got to be like a diamond somewhere that you haven't seen, right? But I think what it is really is the cut of it is like so perfect, right?
Yeah, there are no diamonds like this, is what he says, I think.
But Tom doesn't want to sell it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No. I wanted to hear the number that he was going to offer him.
Yeah,
I
that'd
was
be
so
so
curious.
interesting.
I'll
Yeah.
offer you $10,000. Oh my God. That's a whole fucking house.
Yeah, for real. My dad mentioned the house that his childhood house they bought in the 50s. It's a pretty nice house too. $18,000.
Wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I also like how now we just catch the end of Klaatu and Helen's conversation.
Yeah.
Like it's very cool, like her sort of reacting, and we don't really need to know what she's been told because he's already said a lot of it to like Professor Barnhart. But he does say that he has told her even more than he's told Barnhart. And I think I can't remember exactly why, but he like kind of gives a justification, like I've done it because of this, like or
You know what I'm realizing? This whole story is kind of an inverse. It could be anyone. Where we're seeing it from the point of view of the one it is.
yeah.
Right, where everyone's all panicked and freaked out over who it could be, and there's so much mystery and intrigue of them like, but these diamonds couldn't have come from Earth at all.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you
it's
know?
true.
There's
No,
it's a who done it where we know who done it.
Yeah, there's an opposite version of this movie where, you know,
We don't know who it is, and there's multiple characters. And
well, it's like Doctor or fucking what's his name, Matthew Bennell or whatever. You know, Matthew, the character from fucking Invasion of the Body Snatchers, looking for Klaatu. You know,
yeah, totally.
Looking for Klaatu is our new fucking sitcom. But I love when the elevator starts. There's a good line. He's like, "Oh, must be 12:30." I don't know why that just got me. I was like, "That's good." I don't know.
They solidify if this meeting fails, there will be no hope. I think.
Yeah, and we get the like fucking the threat of the fact that Tom knows, right? Because he's like, Klaatu's like, nobody else knows, right? And Helen is like, no, oh shit,
Right.
we gotta go stop Tom, dude. Fuck, we gotta tell
Fucking
Tom.
Tom.
Yeah, and she tries to call him, but she can't reach him. And I love that his Margaret, I think is her name, the secretary. She's like so fucking freaked out that like the fucking I was about to say the internet, that the electricity went out. You know, she's like, what do you think is going on?
She's really sweet because
Yeah.
later she comes in. She's like, "Are you scared?"
Yeah.
'Cause I'm scared. It's really human. Nice human moment.
Yeah. We do get a moment where we hear that the military's encased the robot in plastic.
Yeah.
And now they're looking for Klaatu dead or alive.
Yeah.
DC is under quarantine. No one is leaving.
Yeah. We get the like newspaper headlines flashing
Yeah.
up. You know, that classic trope.
Classic.
I like it.
classic. No, it's good.
It's still good.
It works.
I want to see it in 2025
It's
too.
black and white, and you know what? The newspaper is black and
I
white.
mean, we've seen this trope how many times across
Murder
the
on the
movies?
Orient Express.
Yeah, and Spider-Man. There's
Spidooter
definitely
Man.
in there. It's definitely come up probably at least one or two more times, I think. But maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe not. Maybe it's just those two.
Newsflash: Neo can fly. And then we get Stevens arriving back at his office, and I was like, I kind of like how quickly Helen arrives after him.
Yeah.
Because like, but there's this there. He's alone with his secretary just long enough to make this very crucial choice
Yeah.
where he's like get me General
Oh.
Cutler or whatever.
Right,
like-
and Helen's or his secretary's like, Helen wanted you to call her as soon as possible. He's like, call the general first.
Yeah.
Right. You see his priorities. Yeah.
yeah, it's good shit. Really, really good stuff. And I love that Helen arrives very shortly after that. You know, and
Yeah, and this is where she confronts him.
yeah.
And is like, no, you can't fuck this up. Like, I trust him. He told me everything. And Tom is just really letting everyone know how big of a douche he is here. Just like, just because you like the guy. Like, he's letting his jealousy get in the
Yeah.
way of this question of humanity. And then he really, digs his own grave here.
I don't
And we're-
care about the rest of the world.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Come on. And Tom says to her something like, "You'll see it different once you see me on the news or whatever." And she's like, "I'm seeing it different now."
He says you'll feel different. And
Oh,
she says,
yeah.
I feel different now.
Good stuff.
And he says you're gonna marry you're not gonna marry something about marrying a big hero. And she
Yeah.
says, I'm not marrying anybody.
Yeah, and she gets out of there. Yeah, fuck you, Tom.
And then she flips him double birds.
That would have been sick.
It was sick. It happened. You should have watched the cut I watched.
The military is mobilizing again. A lot of and it's just cool to see them.
Yes, because Tom does ultimately tell them, I know where Klaatu is, bro.
Yeah,
You're looking for Klaatu? I found him.
This is really cool to see World War II like era accurate depictions just like being filmed driving around Washington DC. Like this looks awesome.
Yeah, it's sick. I love the whole sort of thing of like Helen is rushing back home, like her rushing out of the cab, going into the building to get Klaatu and take him somewhere else. The military scrambling to the boarding house, and then like the like whole cat and mouse timing of everything. But and then we get that Sammy, that little fucking shit who Helen said hi to. Hi, Sammy, right? And then we see him ratting her out to the cops.
He went that way.
Yeah, he went that way. You piece of shit, dude. You little piece of shit. You fucking rat.
That's really funny. Yeah, there's.
So they're thinking that like maybe they like Barnhart can hide him. So they're gonna try and take him to the meeting at the spaceship.
I really like this. You know, we like when things are done procedurally. It's cool to see how the military boxes them in, right? Where they set up. This is like basically how cops do it now, right? Where they set up as many cops or like in the area, expand out a certain zone, wait for them to pass so that they can tighten the net at certain points until they can completely block off them on all sides.
Yeah, this is good shit. I love all like the radioing, getting the license plate, and like triangulating the position and closing in.
Yeah.
And
it's cool that they're like doing it on the old timey like radios from the military trucks and shit. Yeah, it's
and
cool.
This is where we hear Klaatu say, "I'm worried what Gort might do without me." You know, like he could destroy Earth.
Probably should have had a backup plan. Is what I would say to that.
He's got the backup plan. Helen has to get to Gort and say, "Klaatu Barada Nikto." Obviously, that's the plan.
Yeah, a little goofy for me, but I like it. It works.
Yeah. They fucking, and like this is so wild how this happens that they try to run away and Klaatu immediately fucking gets shot, dude.
Yeah.
And Helen just fucking runs off. There's like a big crowd mounting around his body.
I like that, the way she kind of like slips out and just like goes down the staircase towards.
It's a cool shot, yeah. We see Gort in the block. He becomes activated, starts melting that fucking plastic shell.
Yeah, and
what a fucking badass.
Yeah, Gort's sick.
Gort's the goat.
We stand Gort.
We stand a Gort.
And
he vaporizes the two guards watching it, bro.
Yeah, they just kind of they like turn around and like, oh fuck, and then just watch their demise come in. And so I guess the implication is that he knows that Klaatu is dead, and his orders are to just start fucking killing everyone.
Yeah,
basically is what it seems like. Or I was gonna say, is it because does he kill them because they have guns? But like, no, he doesn't discriminate against killing Helen either. So, until she says the words.
Yeah, it's pretty like it is so. There's so much tension in that too, and like the way that she like fucking like falls over and stumbles back, and she's like,
this is the climax,
so terrified
of the movie right here.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the last chance to save Earth, is her getting this message to Gort.
And then the fucking visor starts to slide up slowly, you know, and then she says, Gort, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
Yeah, it's her hero moment because
Klaatu, Barada, Nikto.
Yeah, I like the way.
And then Gort says, would you like bread with your Barada?
He does look kind of goofy the way he's just kind of kicking all the chairs aside as he's walking up to her.
Yeah, his visor just goes back down.
Yeah.
Picks Helen up, carries her onto the ship.
Yep.
There is this weird, like, sort of inconsistent shots when Gort like puts her down in the control room and is like doing something. You see this like medium shot of her, and she has like her hands behind her, and she's like, you know, like terrified up against the wall, and then it cuts to like a wider shot of her from like behind him over his shoulder, and she's like sitting with her hands at her side, and it was just like very visually striking to me, where I was like, whew, the continuity is so off, I can't like not notice it.
Oh, I didn't notice. Good stuff.
Is it, or is it bad stuff?
Well, it's good that
I'm a
good
bad
stuff that you
boy.
know. Good takes.
Bad
Good
boy.
takes on bad cuts.
Ultimately, Gort rescues fucking Klaatu from the jail cell.
Yep, he brings him back. It all happens very quickly. It's just like boom, 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 back at the ship. And they really want to show off this whole sequence of bringing him back to life. There's like the worrying, the machine as its pitch gets louder and louder.
The
And
modulation increases.
yeah, and Helen in the back covering her ears at the horror of it.
Yeah, and we do get people start showing up for the meeting, you know?
Right.
But the army shows up and is like, no, we got to cancel this thing off.
Right.
We got to call this thing off. But then, yeah, once Klaatu comes back to life, too, he tells her that it can restore life for a limited period.
A limited period, yeah.
Because does Gort have the power of life and death? No, that power is reserved to the Almighty Spirit.
Yeah.
Great shit. I liked it. It was fun, but I was like, okay.
Well, I think
They believe in they're God-fearing aliens.
Yeah, I like that they want this to be a meaningful sacrifice from Klaatu. So they still include that he has no idea how long this second life will last. He could die at any time. And so this was kind of a sacrifice he made for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm sure he'll live for like another 70 years, you know? But then we get the whole like sort of like big moment of the whole thing. The with the Barnhart is telling everyone we're gonna have to leave, but that's the moment that Gort walks out of the ship and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? And then we get Klaatu walking out with Helen as well, and the whole speech, that's sort of like delivered, and he's like, I'm leaving soon and I'm gonna be blunt with you. Like total like denouement, like fucking type beat. Everything's just being laid out there,
Yeah.
Everything put together for you, presented to you.
There must be security for all.
Yeah. And this is where he says the thing, there's an organization for mutual protection of planets. We don't have any more aggression. The way this works is we're policed by these robots, and they basically kill us if we show and we do anything violent or any act of aggression.
I kind of love this idea.
Yeah. They're stopping violence and aggression with extreme violence and aggression.
But
very clean, like
bipartisan.
Clinical.
Yeah. No political affiliations, no government affiliations, just you kill, you die.
Bipartisan. Very very American context word, because I was thinking nonpartisan.
Oh, nonpartisan is what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
nonpartisan. Yep.
But hey, we're ruled by a two-party system in this country.
Yep.
Love it or hate it, that's America, baby.
Yes, sir. Sure is.
I also love the way ultimately there's no like the end of the movie is not about what the answer to the question is, right?
It's just he just drops the mic.
He's like, mic drop and I'm gone, baby.
Yeah.
Woo! Flies away. Then the end flies into us. That's good.
Yeah, and I do like his line saying that the power cannot be revoked. So it basically sounds like, you either let our robots govern you, or we blow up your planet. Peace.
Yeah. Even says, this isn't perfect, but we've got a system that works. And he does say, we'll be waiting for your answer. The decision rests with you.
And he has a nice little wave to Helen.
Yeah.
Like, peace. You were cool.
Yeah.
They kind of liked each other. They wish they smooched.
He holds up the like phone like to his
Call
ear.
me.
Call me. He leaves his fucking digits for her. I stand them.
Oh yeah.
No,
Well,
sorry.
Way better
I
than
ship them. I ship them.
Way better than Tom. Fuck Tom.
Yeah. Fuck Tom. So, what do you think?
Yeah, you give me your rating first.
I think it's an A. I think it's an A because I think that like I don't know if it was expectation, but I thought it was just like I was surprised by the content and like the message, and I think some of the emotional beats aren't like super strong. Some of the acting is kind of goofy. It definitely feels of its time with some of those aspects, but the like universal truths, it like the things it says about humanity and the way that it's so applicable now, it's just very hard for me to not give it an A, I think.
Hell yeah. I'm going to give it a B. I think
You just waited for me to say it so you could go one lower. So you can be the tougher critic.
No. I was thinking I wasn't like super captivated by it. And that wasn't really fault of the movie. It was just like, I don't know, maybe my mood I was in, it wasn't super entertaining for me, but I did I was like I appreciated it a lot. And I guess that's what I'm saying is usually, even though I don't judge it on context too much, I think how relevant this movie still is 74 years later speaks to uh its quality and its impact and its kind of foresight into humanity and politics and the geopolitical maneuverings and all that. So yeah, that alone I think elevates it to at least a B for me, even if I wasn't like, you know, super on the edge of my seat for what was going on.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big part of the A for me as well is like it feels like a it feels like to me we've definitely seen this kind of shit before. Like, aliens
Yeah.
aren't actually trying to hurt us. But it feels like this is like the first time like a major motion picture tackled that.
Yeah,
And
I really think
I
context
liked
goes a long way.
I
for this one
like
on
the
me.
way it was done,
Yeah.
It's and also this is like 5 years before Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I think, something like that. Like the first cinematic one. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me a lot of Twilight Zone, which I'm a big fan of. This felt like a long Twilight Zone episode in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I think also like I really liked Michael Rennie and Patricia Neal
Yep.
and Bobby's performance as well. Bobby played by Billy Gray. So I think those kind of like give it a little bump, extra bump for me. But yeah, I mean I can see what you mean. It's like especially when I was younger, I didn't love the idea of watching older movies. I'm like, oh, it's dated. You can tell it's like dated, and I can definitely feel like the sort of like tempo and vibe is like so different than like what like I'm used to now in like movies.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's a little simple in a lot of ways for it's telling a very black and white story because for the purposes of the message. Like I love long scenes where it's like a bunch of like military commanders just discussing battle plans and stuff. But here it's just like, well, we're just gonna get the bad guy.
There's not a whole lot of nuisance in this movie.
Nuance, yeah.
There's a whole lot of nuisance.
Yeah,
There's not a whole lot of nuance.
I think the lack of nuance is kind of what like wasn't super engaging for me, but I think it's still like really well done and executed for what it's doing.
Yeah, I kind of love the lack of nuance and how it is like you're fucking stupid, like fucking stop like being suspicious of like every single person and like we're in it together. Because I am a bit of like an optimist, I think, and I don't know, it just like really like speaks to me like, yeah, what if we just stop being stupid and work together? But
yeah. I don't know. I think an argument can be made that you can even highlight that even more if people act more realistically in stupid ways. And then you de-escalate in a more realistic way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. There's definitely a more nuanced approach to it. I think taking into account the time too, I was just like, it feels like a period of time where people need to be hit over the head with something.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was like overly
there's a lot of subtle stuff
Yeah.
like we talked about in the movie too, and so I do think it's a work of art and well done. I wasn't super engaged by it, but like I appreciate it, and usually I will go more by my like how much I enjoyed it, but I feel like I'm cutting this one some slack because of, like I said, how prescient it was for its time. And all that.
For sure. I mean, dude, you gotta stare deeply into Michael Rennie's eyes and just get lost, baby. So that was the day the Earth stood still.
Yep.
And next week, we're doing another alien movie because that's how it works.
Yeah, we're getting a little spookier for this one.
Not only are we doing an alien movie, we are doing
Alien.
We're doing the movie Alien.
Ridley Scott.
1979?
I want to say even earlier, but I can't remember.
It might be, yeah. No, that's totally plausible. But yeah, we are doing the first alien movie. It is 1979. I was right. I win.
You win.
I am stoked for this one. It's gonna be dope. Definitely completely different vibe. I was thinking about it so much while we were talking about this. Like, that alien is like, there's no reasoning with it, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I think this movie, in hindsight, looking at the for the month, is probably the odd man out in terms of themes and tone. But I think like all those themes are still there, right? It's a different
Alien or The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Alien.
Yeah.
I think is the one that's kind
For
of the
sure.
odd man out of the 4 we're doing.
It's also the only, spoilers, horror movie we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's horror aspects too, but yeah, this is a straight up horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's been us. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, show your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. Find us on social media. We are Cinema Forecast, FOURCAST. And thank you so very much for listening. We'll see you next week with Alien. Tell your friends you love them. Call your mom, and we love you very much.
Peace.
And we'll see you in
The Forecast.
Cast.